Well, for some analysis on the year of elections ahead, I'm now joined by Ambassador Boaz Mbaya from the Center for Policy Analysis here in Kenya. Now, of course, so thank you so much for your time. To begin with, some might say that Africa has done well in terms of hosting elections year after year, but that has little bearing on some of the key governance issues that African states need to address. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's very interesting. I think Africa's done pretty well given the circumstances, but we need to do a lot more. We need to deal with the issues of governance such as corruption. We need to deal with issues such as ethnicity, and we need to deal with personal greed, because I think some of the accusations that have been leveled against African leaders is that they are interested in staying in power for too long, which I hope it's not going to be the case throughout. That is not going to help democracy develop in Africa, and therefore it will be very difficult for us to move on with the rest of the world.
Well, as we said there in that report a little earlier, we're talking about at least 16 elections taking place on the continent this year. Give us an idea of which ones you think are the key elections to watch out for in Africa and why.
I'll pick about two. One is Uganda. Uganda has had President Museveni in power for nearly 30 years or more. And when you visit Uganda, everybody's looking forward to having a change. And I don't think he's prepared to leave power as such. Therefore, his election will be a focal point, especially after what has happened in Burundi, in the context of the East African community. So we hope that it will be smooth. Whoever is elected will take over the power properly, and therefore it will not rancor the East African community the same way that the previous community suffered.
Now, on that note of African leaders not wanting to vacate their positions of power, of course, we've seen this year constitutional changes that have been implemented in order to help certain rulers extend their time in office. What do you think this means for the continent going into 2016?
I want to frankly say it is a pity that some African leaders want to personalize constitutions. Constitution is a sovereign document, and sovereignty refers to the people, not one individual. And I think the moment we allow one individual to assume he's so important that he has to continue ruling, we are getting the point wrong. The rest of the world is moving on, and where you have changes in leadership, you also have changes in ideas, you also have development prospects changing alongside those changes. I think it is important that in Africa, we should not keep talking about this is African democracy. Democracy is democracy wherever it is. If it is one person, one vote, it is one person, one vote everywhere. And I think the idea of prolonging themselves, some leaders prolonging themselves in leadership is actually backward, in my opinion.
Now, Ambassador, as we go into 2016, do you think that we might see stronger voices of citizens emerging where they strongly state that they will not be led by certain rulers, or really instituting or suggesting ways in which they want to see their democracies grow? Essentially, how best can African countries, with the power of the people, help to nurture homegrown democracy?
I don't know what is meant by homegrown democracy. Democracy is democracy wherever it is practiced. It is one person, one vote, one man, one woman, one vote. If that is the case, there is nothing like homegrown African democracy, because we need to move. If we accept universally adopted values, we should accept them and move on with them. We should not talk about African democracy, because I don't see in what sense democracy is going to be defined in an African context. So I think the people have become very knowledgeable. They are also exerting their rights, and it should not take too long to ensure that constitutions are respected and elections are respected. Democracy therefore thrives like it thrives everywhere else.
All right, well, thank you so much for your analysis. Ambassador Boaz Mbaya, live for us here in our studio in Nairobi.